Hey bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to announce the One Readathon to rule them all. This readathon is a fantasy-themed readathon, and this is the third year that it's taking place. This is round 3 of this readathon. And while the name of the readathon is obviously Lord of the Rings inspired, this year's theme for the readathon is Harry Potter. The creator of the readathon, Ashley from Don't Have a Degree in Reading, kindly asked me if I was interested in co-hosting this readathon with her, and I said yes. I have never actually co-hosted a readathon before. The only thing remotely like this I've ever done is the Wheel of Time read-along, which is a little different than a regular readathon. So there are 8 hosts, 2 for each Hogwarts house, and there are reading prompts for each house so that you can win points for your team and all kinds of good stuff. I'm gonna have a lot of information linked down in the description box. Actually, there's gonna be a ton of information in the description box. Links to like Google Docs and spreadsheets that explain everything that I'm gonna tell you about. So definitely go check out the description box if you are interested in this readathon. In the first part of this video, I'm going to go over all of the information about the readathon, and then the second part of the video, I'm actually going to be telling you my TBR, the books I plan to read during the readathon. So of course, the most important piece of information when it comes to readathon is when is it? So this readathon is taking place from November 22nd to November 30th. That's right, it is a 9-day readathon. I do plan on vlogging during this readathon. I even for like a little bit of time considered daily vlogging for the readathon because I love watching daily vlogs and I've always wanted to do it, but because I work full-time, it didn't really seem feasible. But during this readathon, I'm actually not going to be working because it takes place during the week of American Thanksgiving. So I did consider doing daily vlogs, but because it's a 9-day readathon, I don't know, I felt like 9 daily vlogs was a bit excessive. So I decided that I'm just gonna do the one long reading vlog instead. So like I said, there are 8 hosts, 2 for each house, and I am one of the Ravenclaw hosts, because if you didn't know it, I am a Ravenclaw. I am wearing a dark blue shirt, although it looks black on camera, I think, but I promise it's dark blue. I don't actually have any like Ravenclaw clothing items. It's just not something that I really buy. So this was the best that I could do. There is a Twitter account for the readathon, which is also linked down in the description box. And if you tweet about the readathon, use the hashtag #TheOneReadathon. There will be Twitter sprints taking place during the readathon. I will probably host a couple of them. So make sure you follow the Twitter account if you want to participate in those reading sprints. So like I mentioned, there are reading prompts with points associated with them. So the main goal is to try and accumulate as many points for your house as you can. Each house has 4 traits that are associated with people of that house. And Ashley has come up with reading prompts to associate with each of those 4 traits, and the number of points that that prompt is worth increases with the difficulty of the prompt. On top of that, there is also a house book for each house, and that is worth the most amount of points. All of the prompts are listed in the description box, so if you take a peek, you'll know what I'm talking about. You do have to finish the book within the allotted time of the readathon for it to count for points. As far as what kind of books count, really any type of fantasy book counts. It can be high fantasy, low fantasy, urban fantasy, anything that you would consider to be fantasy, even magical realism. You can also read these books in any form. They can be audiobooks, they can be graphic novels, they can be comic books, ebooks, physical, it doesn't matter. All of it counts. Not only can you fulfill the prompts for your house to earn points for your house, but if you read books that fulfill prompts that are associated with the other houses, you can deduct points from the other houses for half of what that prompt is worth. You can use one book to fulfill as many prompts as you want. You can stack the prompts, but you can only fulfill each prompt one time during the readathon. I know the math probably sounds confusing, but it's actually really easy because Meg from Tome Infinity has made some Google Docs to make this really painless. There are only 2 forms that you have to fill out. You have to fill out the sign-up sheet, and every time you finish reading the book, you have to fill out the points sheet. When you fill out the sign-up sheet, it's going to ask you what Hogwarts house you want to be in. Also, make sure you remember what name you use when you fill out the sign-up sheet, because that is the name you want to use to fill out the point sheet so that all of your points get allocated correctly. Speaking of the point sheet, that is the sheet that you fill out every time you finish reading a book. When you fill out the sheet, there is a section with prompts, and you just check off whatever prompts that book fulfilled. It will input your information into the Readathon spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet does all the math for you. Of course, all of this point tracking system is based on the honor system. The person in each house that has the most points will be designated as the house prefect, and the house prefect, of course, is going to be constantly changing during the readathon as people rack up points. If you have any problems filling out a form, feel free to contact the head of your house, one of the co-hosts of your house. I also want to point out that if this team aspect and filling out these forms and all of that doesn't sound appealing to you, you totally don't have to do that to participate in the readathon. You are welcome to participate on your own without joining in on the team challenges. For those of you who are participating in the team challenge, there will be a giveaway at the end of the readathon. Whatever house has the most points, one person from that house will be randomly selected and will receive one book from the book depository up to a value of $25. Okay, before moving on to my TBR, there is one last thing that I want to mention. This year we have a Discord for the readathon, which is of course linked down in the description box. If you're not familiar, Discord is a messaging platform that is available both on mobile and on desktop devices. In the Discord, each Hogwarts house has a private chat room where only people who are in that house can participate. In addition to the house common rooms, there is also just a general chat area so you can talk to anybody who is participating in the readathon. This is also not necessary to join in on the readathon. It's just an added element if you want more interaction with people in your house, people who are participating in the readathon, then it's an option to join the Discord. Okay, that is all of the information about the readathon. Hopefully I remembered to say everything. If you guys have questions, feel free to message me or let me know down in the comments, and I will be sure to get back to you with an answer. Let us move on to my TBR. Okay, so I have 4 books picked out for my TBR, and I'm really hopeful that I'm going to be able to get all 4 of them read because it's a 9-day readathon. Like I said, I'm not going to be working during this time. 2 of these books were already on my fall TBR. 2 were not, but that's okay. The first book on my TBR is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is my beautiful UK copy with the stained edges that I love so much, but honestly, I'm probably going to be listening to the audiobook. I didn't listen to the audiobook of this the first time I read it. This will be a reread for me. At least I don't think I did. I know I listened to the audiobook for the second book in the duology. Either way, I really want to listen to this on audio, so that's probably what I'm going to be doing, but maybe occasionally I'll be flipping through this beautiful copy. This is the group read for the Ravenclaw house. So even though I had already read it, I definitely was open to reading again because I loved it and it was one of my favorite books that I read last year. I'm going to tell you the prompts this book fulfilled, but I'm not going to hold up the book while I do that. This book fulfills 4 prompts. The first prompt, of course, is, like I said, the house buddy read. The second prompt it fulfills is creativity, which is a prompt for Ravenclaw, and that is to read the first book in a fantasy series. It also fulfills the prompt of justice for Hufflepuff, which is to read a fantasy book with a revenge plot or subplot. I've already read this book, and I know that there is a revenge subplot in it. And the last prompt it fulfills is chivalry, which is a prompt for Gryffindor. And that one is read a fantasy book written by a female author and or with a female POV, and this book is both. So hopefully I did my math right, but put together, if I complete Strange the Dreamer, I will be earning 6 points for Ravenclaw and taking away 3 points from various other teams. The next book on my TBR is The Broken Eye by Brent Weeks. This is the 3rd book in the Lightbringer series. This is actually the book that is going to count for the most points for me and the most prompts. The first prompt that it fulfills is wit, which is a Ravenclaw prompt, and that is to read a fantasy book with some comic relief. One of the main characters in this book, Kip, is definitely comic relief. There are a lot of things that he does that are meant to be funny. This book also fulfills the prompt of intelligence, another Ravenclaw prompt, and that is to read a high fantasy book with a complex magic system. And if you've heard anything about the Lightbringer magic system, you know that it is definitely complex. This also fulfills the prompt of patience, which is a Hufflepuff prompt, and that is to read a fantasy book over 500 pages or an audiobook over 1,600 hours. I think I'm going to be reading this on audiobook, but I might be going back and forth between the ebook and the audiobook. But either way, physically it's over 500 pages. It's like 800 and something, almost 900 pages, and it's like 24 hours-ish. It's over 20 hours of audio. So that prompt is definitely fulfilled, and I think this book is going to take up the majority of my time during the readathon. This book also fulfills the prompt of courage, which is a Gryffindor prompt, and that is to read a sequel in a fantasy series that you were on the fence about. And if you guys saw my wrap-up where I talked about the second book in the series, you would know that I had a lot of mixed feelings about that second book and was definitely a little on the fence about continuing on in the series. And then the last prompt that the Broken Eye is going to fulfill is a Slytherin prompt, and that is leadership. Read a fantasy book that subverts the chosen one trope. And I definitely think that Kip, one of the main characters in this book, is meant to subvert the chosen one trope. So when you put together all the points from those prompts, this book will be worth 5 points for my team of Ravenclaw, and it will take away 6 points from various other teams. The next book on my TBR is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy, the first trilogy in her larger Realm of the Elderling series. I just read the second book in the series last month, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely really excited about finishing out this series. So this book fulfills 3 different prompts. The first prompt is loyalty, which is a Hufflepuff prompt, and that is to read a book with a great friendship. At this point in the series, after having read 2 books, I am confident in saying that there are some really great friendships in this book. Some of the relationships just make my heart hurt with how much people care about each other. It also fulfills the prompt of work, which is also a Hufflepuff prompt, and that is to read the last book in a fantasy series. And like I said, this is the 3rd book in a trilogy. The last prompt that Assassin's Quest fulfills is Nerve, which is read a fantasy book with an ugly or outdated cover. And while there are some newer covers for this book that I love, the original covers, which I will show you, do make me cringe a little on the inside. So put all together, this book will take away 2.5 points from various other teams. And that brings me to the last book on my TBR, and that is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is the 2nd book in the First Law trilogy. This book fulfills 3 different prompts. The first one is Ambition, which is a Slytherin prompt, and that is to read a fantasy book with a main character that is attempting to change the status quo. From what I can tell from the synopsis of this book, I believe that is happening at least with one of the storylines. If it ends up not fulfilling this prompt, I just won't count it whenever I fill out the form. It also fulfills the prompt of Bravery, which of course is a Gryffindor prompt, and that is to read a fantasy that has been on your TBR for too long. I'm not sure what everyone's definition of too long is, but I read the first book in this series back in April and have been meaning to pick up the second book ever since. At this point, it's been 6 months, more than 6 months, and I think that's too long for a sequel to be on my TBR. And then the last prompt that this book fulfills is Cunning, which is a Slytherin prompt, and that is to read a fantasy book with a villain or anti-hero's POV. There is a character in this book named Glokta, and I would consider him to be an anti-hero. When you put all these prompts together, this book will count for negative 2.5 points from various other houses. Alright, there you guys go. That is my TBR for the One Readathon to Rule Them All, which is happening at the end of November. Definitely check out the description box. There is important information in there, including the reading prompts, the links to the information document, as well as the spreadsheet and the sign-up sheet and all of that stuff, as well as all of the other lovely people who are co-hosting this readathon with me. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye. And all of the hosts will be, and there will be blah blah blah. And if you tweet, and each Hogwarts, and for people who, and this is the second book. What's the name of the series? Bye.